Why I am not a Salafi. Before I tell you why I'm not a Salafi Muslim, I wanted to first say that I have met several of these brothers, and their apparent determination and sincerity is what I believe everybody should have when it comes to their religion. I don't know if this determination and sincerity is real. I have to assume that it's real because it is apparent. But every single Muslim should approach Islam exactly in that way, with determination and sincerity. That being said, the reason why I'm not a Salafi is their core belief that every single Muslim should understand the Quran and the Sunnah, or Islam in general, the way Salaf understood it, meaning the first three generations from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the companions, and the subsequent two generations. The problem with that approach is, if you look at the history, you will realize that those generations were not righteous at all. There's so much to be desired that you can't even tell who's who and who's righteous, who's not righteous, because they were all at war with each other. If you look after the assassination of Uthman, you will realize that the civil wars that ensued involved a whole lot of people, and all of this is like 30 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So these are the Salaf generations. For example, the first emperor of the Umayyad Empire, Muawiyah, who is the son of Hind and Abu Sufyan. Hind is the lady that paid Washi, one of the slaves from the Quraysh, to kill Hamza, uncle of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then she apparently ate his liver. That's how much they hated Islam in the beginning, and they converted to Islam after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, arrived back to Mecca. Their son, Muawiyah, the first Umayyad emperor, went to war with Ali, the person, a companion of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was there the whole time from the very beginning, one of the first people to embrace Islam, right? So who are the Salaf there? Are the followers of Ali Salaf, or are the followers of Muawiyah Salaf? Are they both Salaf? And even in that conflict, you see that the Kharijites or Khawarij, they arise in that conflict. So are they the Salaf? And you can argue this to no end. And, of course, they have the hadith and all of that say that they were written by the chosen Salaf, whatever. But you have to understand, in these political circumstances, people are going to write things that glorify themselves, right? Between a lion and a hunter, the hunter is always going to be glorified until the lion can write. Same thing with history. Whoever loses doesn't get to write. So you have to understand that all of this kind of quote-unquote history arises in this milieu, which makes everything unreliable. So do we go by the Muawiyah's understanding of Islam, or do we go by the Khawarij understanding of Islam, or do we go by the followers of Ali? All of these are Salaf. So that approach is impossible. You cannot base Islam on that. You simply can't. And even the next generation, the Tabi'in, the Muawiyah's son Yazid, he basically kills a grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, literally. So imagine you have a man that you call as a prophet, and then which one of us would do that? Which one of us would kill a grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, while calling ourselves Muslims? And these are the people in power. These are the people that are going to validate whatever texts are printed. They're the ones that are going to allow or forbid what is to be written and what isn't to be written. So you have to take whatever is passed on from that milieu with a certain degree of skepticism. So you can't base your religion on that, because it is simply unreliable. Look at the political climates throughout the world today. Look at the censorship. Look at everything. That is unchanging. That is always unchanging. So ultimately, you are left with the Quran and a bunch of other texts that are possibly influenced. And even, you go down the line, you'll see that this was always a problem. Like, for example, in the 800s, which is no longer the Salaf, but in the 800s, which is very early after them, you have an issue between the Mu'tazila and the Proto-Sunnis, that I call them, where Mu'tazila are accusing of the Proto-Sunnis of Bid'ah. So you have that problem as well. So you have several problems like that, and the Sunnis don't become dominant sect until the Emperor Mutawakkil switches his stance on who should be the dominant, and government censorship ensues. So whether we're talking about the Salaf or anything else in the past, everything except the Quran is really unreliable. And I think the only approach one can take at that point is use the Quran as furqan, right? Not use others people understanding of what what the Quran says or what they thought the Quran says, given what they did, right? There's so much disagreement in the past that you can never have a reliable account. But if you hear something and it contradicts the Quran, then you have to take it as that. It's not from God. And if you hear something and it's in line with the Quran, then it is from God. And the most important part of religion, like everything most important, that a part that is uncompromisable, is the verses of the Quran that are muhkamatum, that are very, very clear. The behaviors that God expects from us that are very, very clear. Like, for example, what God defines as hikmah in the 17th chapter of the Quran. What God defines as sirat al-mustaqim in the 6th chapter of the Quran, verses 151 to 153. When God describes the servants of the most gracious, people who are the servants of God, in Surah Furqan, for example. All that is clear, right? Muhkamatum, and there is no substitute for that, nor do you need a scholar to explain it to you. You just have to do that, and that is the approach to Islam that I take. So that is why I'm not really a part of any sect, because I have studied the history of this sectarianism, and each and every single one of them leave much to be desired. And every single one of those sects, their thoughts and their ideas have to be really strained through the Quran for a person to know what's real and what's not. Peace be with you.